since I don't remember when, in and out of consciousness. While others might be stressing now, we rely on our facade to help us out. And it's obvious now, finally, I know you're gonna underplay it, but it's time to move on from this. We're derailing, and we're not what we used to be. So life is different than we imagined it would be. We're not the first, we're not the last. While others may be restless too, we were always far ahead, me and you. And it's obvious now, finally, I know you're gonna underplay it, but it's time to move on from.
So, new day, new part of the city. Welcome to Central Park. 345 hectares of solid land right in the heart of Manhattan. You'd think that, the city of Manhattan was built around this natural rock formation. But actually, no, it wasn't. Because there's a story behind this. And what's the craziest part of it all? Well, it's that nothing here is actually natural. Every single hill, rock path, and lake was designed and built by engineers in the 1850s. Specifically, 10 million cubic meters of earth and stone were moved for the creation. In fact, it was more massive earthwork than the construction of the Panama Canal. This was the largest landscape architecture project of the 1800s. And today it's the world's most visited urban park. After yesterday's busy, hectic pace and all that asphalt, I only need one simple thing right now, to sit down here on a bench and fully realize and appreciate that I'm in Central Park.
And we're not what we used to be. Underplay it, but it's time to move on from this. We're derailing, and we're not what we used to be. Underplay it, but it's time to move on from this. We're derailing, and we're not what we used to be. Make this go away. I need a top shelf drink to set me straight, and a little bit of honey to make this go away.
Now I'm going to a place that wasn't originally part of my tight itinerary, but is incredibly important to me. This is the Hungarian Consulate General in New York, because today there are parliamentary elections back home. The fact that here on the other side of the world, in America, I can cast my vote and express my opinion is not something to be taken for granted at all. Today there are parliamentary elections in Hungary, and here I am in front of the consulate. It was important to fit this into my day, and before I go in, there's something I need to talk about. I know this is often a divisive topic back home. You often hear the opinion that those who don't live and pay taxes at home should have their right to vote taken away. But in my opinion, that would be a huge mistake because attachment doesn't depend on your address. Currently, about 2 million Hungarians live outside the borders in England, Germany, or even here in the States. And then there are those over whom the country's border simply passed since Trianon. They never left Hungary, yet they became foreigners. The fact that they can make their voices heard is the very essence of belonging together. But there is also a more practical reason. Most Hungarians living abroad have not closed the door behind them for good. Many are planning to move back home, and it really matters what kind of country they will be returning to. This vote is a bridge that connects them to our shared future. Of course, I won't say in the vlog who I'm voting for. Let that remain the secret of the voting booth. But the fact that I'm standing here in the middle of Manhattan and I can have a say in the direction our country takes, guys, this is freedom itself. I'm going to go and make use of it. It's not every day that you get to walk onto the deck of a real hardcore aircraft carrier. This is the USS Intrepid, which is now a museum on the Hudson River, but its history is absolutely incredible. It was commissioned in 1943, and it's a true survivor. It fought all the way through World War II, the Cold War, and the Vietnam War as well. Along the way, it survived 5 kamikaze attacks. So just standing on this steel giant gives me goosebumps. But to be honest, what's parked on this ship is pure heaven for any engineer. Come on, let me show you.
Non-stop, but I'm holding on. She's a bad, bad dream. Gotta wake up, let it go. Mommy, keep on coming. I can use a blackout. Give me something to drink, 'cause I don't wanna think. But now, knock me right out, filling me up. This is out of my mind. Working on my confidence and talking to a stranger. She told me to leave, and goddamn it, I see her point. It's time to go home. I time to go.
And if that hadn't already blown my mind, there's also an original British Airways Concorde parked on the pier. The deck itself is packed with some of the most badass fighter planes and helicopters in history. A ticket here costs $36, which might not sound cheap at first, but guys, for that money you're standing on a real aircraft carrier and you can touch the pinnacles of aviation history. From an engineer's perspective, this isn't an expense, it's a solid investment.
Tiger, you should warn all my rivals. I aim for them like a sniper. Got the heart of a lion, there ain't no denying. Made a promise I plan to keep. Blood, sweat, and tears, now we're about to shift gears. I'ma knock you right off your feet. Can you hear the thunder roll? to get colder. I was raised by a fire, tensions getting high.
Okay, hold on tight. Standing above me is the Space Shuttle Enterprise, the very first space shuttle that ever flew. It's true, it never went to space because this craft was the aerodynamic prototype. NASA engineers tested on this prototype whether a space shuttle this large, resembling a brick, could even land by gliding through the atmosphere. But my favorite story about it is its name. Originally, it was going to be called Constitution, but in the 1970s, Star Trek fans bombarded the White House with tens of thousands of letters until it was renamed Enterprise. I think this is the only time in history when sci-fi fans totally beat NASA.
I'ma knock you right off your feet. Can you hear the thunder roll? Welcome to the jungle. I'ma take what's mine and take what's yours. Lord have mercy for the coming storm. So bonafide you can't ignore. Can you hear them bells ringing? Down on there's an angel singing. It ain't over till it's over. It's a cold day about to get colder. I was raised by a fire, tensions getting higher. Glory's within my reach. Aiming for the sky like a Rocky Mountain high. And there ain't nothing that's gonna stop me.
The Brooklyn Bridge was opened in 1883, and when it was completed, it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. I can get excited about quite a lot of reinforced concrete and steel structures, but this bridge is different. I would say that this is no longer just infrastructure, this is pure art. And the thing is, this bridge was literally built by a single family, and their story is pure drama. John Roebling, the chief engineer, designed it, but at the very beginning of construction, his foot got trapped between a ferry and the dock. He died of tetanus, so he never saw his masterpiece completed. His son, Washington Roebling, took over the project. He personally descended into the pressurized underwater work chambers, known as caissons. As a result, he developed decompression sickness and, paralyzed, was confined to bed for years while he watched the construction progress. But they didn't give up. His wife, Emily, carried on with the project. She learned the basics of engineering, negotiated with the builders for years, and relayed her husband's instructions. At the inauguration, she was the very first person to walk across the bridge. A father who died for his vision, a son who sacrificed his health, and a wife who finished it all. If you've ever looked for the true story of engineering dedication, this is it. But let's look at the numbers because they're just as brutal. Do you see these main cables? Their diameter is almost 40 centimeters, and each one contains more than 5,000 individual galvanized steel wires. John Roebling simply called this material the metal of the future. And do you know what's the craziest part? Roebling built this bridge to be 6 times stronger than what would have been needed for horse-drawn carriages at the time. As if back in 1883, he foresaw the coming age of automobiles. Today, 250,000 vehicles cross it every day. And these massive Gothic stone towers don't look like a cathedral by accident. Roebling designed them this way on purpose. He wanted a bridge that not only takes you to the other side, but also makes you stop and marvel at it. And I can report that after 140 years, it still works flawlessly.
Aiming for the sky like a Rocky Mountain high, and there ain't nothing that's gonna stop me. Can you hear the thunder roll? Welcome to the jungle. I'ma take what's mine and take what's yours. Lord have mercy for the coming storm. So bonafide you can't ignore.
We've come over to Brooklyn, and this is Brooklyn Heights, one of the city's oldest and most peaceful neighborhoods. Tree-lined streets, real classic brownstone houses with stoops. Here somehow everything is much slower than in Manhattan. With food in hand, we walked over here to the Brooklyn Heights Promenade, and if you haven't understood until now why apartments around here cost millions of dollars, well, this is pretty much why. You're out in the fresh air, it's completely peaceful, while on the other side of the East River, the entire Manhattan skyline is pulsing. You've seen this view 1,000 times in movies, on posters, on TV, but guys, seeing it in real life, the scale is just absolutely incredible. Even from an engineer's perspective, the view is a 10 out of 10.
Time has been so hard on us, my friend. Sun goes down, but we get back again. Trouble is a silly thing, it always ends up breaking. But everything still works out in the end. No matter what they call it.
We've arrived in DUMBO. And yes, as funny as it sounds, that's actually its official name. It's an acronym, Down Under the Manhattan Bridge Overpass. New Yorkers just love abbreviations. This is Washington Street, and this is the spot you've probably seen about 1,000 times on Instagram, a cobblestone street with the Manhattan Bridge wedged between two buildings. And the thing is, in real life, it looks even better than those filtered photos. But there's a very interesting urban twist here. In the 1970s, this area was still a dark, abandoned warehouse district. First, artists moved into the huge, empty factory buildings because the rent was dirt cheap. And today, you'll find a significant portion of New York's most expensive luxury apartments right here. That's just how this city works. What one generation lets go of and writes off, the next embraces and turns back into gold.
Well, then the last day here in New York has arrived. We're still going up to the top of the Rockefeller Center. We'll see New York from there at sunset. Actually, the sun's already set, but maybe we can still see it. And then after that, tomorrow we're going to Washington to pick up the Camaro, or the Challenger, or the Mustang. We'll see what they give us. Well, I have no idea how I survived, but I made it. The nights weren't that warm, so that was pretty much New York. We're still going up to the top of the rock, and then, well, the road movie starts in the next episode, so stay with me. Bye, everyone.
Time has been so hard on us, my friend. But through every night we keep on dancing.
The last stop of the day, and right away, a hardcore vlog tip. If you only have time to go up to one place in New York at sunset, make it the top of the rock on top of Rockefeller Center. Why not the Empire State Building? It's very simple. From here, you can actually see the Empire State Building. If you go up there, the city's most iconic building will be missing from your photo. So come here.
When she was just a girl, she expected the world, but it flew away from her reach. So she ran away in her sleep and dreamed of paradise.
We're 70 stories high. Right across is the Empire State, to the left is the Chrysler Building, and in the distance you can spot the Statue of Liberty. The entire concrete jungle of Manhattan is literally lying at your feet. I've been here for 2 days, guys, and I still can barely grasp the scale of it all, especially when I think about everything that fit into today. This morning I was still in Central Park, then I stepped onto a massive aircraft carrier and the first space shuttle, and then I walked across the Brooklyn Bridge, which literally cost a designer family their lives. I was able to cast my vote at the Consulate, and now here I am, standing on top of the world. Today was my last full day in New York. It will be hard to leave behind the city I've grown so fond of. Tomorrow I'll get on a bus and head to Washington, and finally I'll get the keys to the real main character. But before the madness begins, for now I'm just listening to the city for a bit longer. Thank you for being with me today as well. I hope you enjoyed today's vlog.
Dream of